Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And I am broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and on YouTube. Hello, hello. And if you are listening in on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Ugh, I got glue. Don't mind me. Hot glue makes, have you ever seen those hot glue crafts where they turn the hot glue strings into cobwebs? Yeah, seriously, it happens. It's a thing. You can also check out the podcast. It's any place you might find a podcast: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. It's all there. And no matter how you are, seeing me or hearing me, make sure you do stop by and say hello. And if you want to support the story or the show, blah, yeah, you can check out the Etsy is www.etsy.com/Monarch Mountain Studio, and Mountain is MTN. Also, there's the Patreon. That is patreon.com/the spaces between. Sometimes being a girl, I gotta tell you, I got hair all over the place. That's why it's up most of the time, because it gets in my face and it drives me nuts. So yeah. But I hate it short, so I can't win. It's just a thing. It's all good. So thank you last night for Judge and Sindel joining me and talking about past life regression. That was super awesome. For a limited time, if you do want to take advantage of their hypnotherapy program or specials or anything like that, you can check them out, and you can use the Winter Solstice as the coupon code, and they'll get you a 20% discount, which would be super duper cool. And yeah, it's awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to find a certain link and I'm just not finding it because, yeah, I saved it in the wrong place because that happens occasionally. I swear, I gotta have a little black book to keep track of myself. I have more calendars than I really want to admit to. It's not an addiction, it is the way I keep track of myself. I see, just real quick, Bomber is in TFR. Hello, Bomber. And Sophia Bot, because Sophia Bot is always there. I see Blacktree, hey, Cameron, Deb, Jessica, MCAT, Nessie, and I think there's someone else in there, all in TFR world. Or Renee, hey Renee, in YouTube. So, anyways, yeah, Judge was pretty awesome. He and Sindel are just kind of phenomenal folks, and so we're gonna do additional shows with them. The next one that we're gonna do is the Lives Between Lives. So basically, that's going to be talking about the experiences that you have between your carnations. You know, what is it that you're doing? Because there's a thing there. You know, what is it? And uh, sorry, just I swear. There we go. I can't talk and type at the same time. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, a 2-year planner, no doubt, Jess. So, that link that I just posted in the spaces between, that's if you wanted to donate directly. It's the paypal.me for donate direct. I am not quite as special as the Paranormal Portal. They've got the donate here, e-rate and chat. I'm not there yet, but I will be soon. And so yeah, if you want to click in there, you can donate. Anything you donate is really, really appreciated because, you know, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here live like this. I wouldn't be doing the show like this. I'd probably be doing something a little different. But I love interacting with you guys, so I think it's super cool that you are here. Yeah, if you're new or if you did just joined, this is the Yule. Oh, go back. Anyways, so yeah, it was fun. Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not. I just threw something together and apparently I didn't pay attention. So there we go. That's what I get for trying to do something on the fly. Can you hear me now? Yeah, improv. No, you didn't. Yeah, it's there. Anyways, so yeah. Um just clicking on the buttons wrong. Anyways, totally lost my train of thought. It's all good though. Yes, voice. I'm here. Bomber and TFR. No, I think everybody's still talking about Bigfoot elsewhere. Bomber. They'll be back. They'll come back. I promise. Just it might take them a little bit. Um, anyways, yeah. Looking forward to the New Year. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. Um, because you know this is the time of year a lot of folks are doing New Year's resolutions. They're trying to plan for the future, and part of Yule or solstice is actually to often set your intentions. You write them down on paper, you burn them in the Yule fire, that kind of thing, or pine cones, and it's a very, very common practice. Now we didn't do it today because we had a little bit of a potluck. So true North Idaho style, we had a baked potato bar kind of thing going on with chili and sour cream and onions and bacon and yum, and it was good. Um, Instead, we talked about the future, and I think we're going in a good direction. And I'll update you more later. So, um, yeah, new year, new intentions. And I've been reading a couple articles lately because people this time of year setting new intentions, summarizing the past year, trying to plot out what's going on for the next year. And often people in general don't have a clue. Um, yeah, exactly, MCAT. New Year's resolutions, everybody wants to make them, but how often do we follow through on those? I mean, seriously, how often do people who set resolutions actually follow through? It's better to set your intention for the year. What is it you intend to accomplish rather than a resolution. If you sit down, it's like, all right, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year, and you change nothing about your lifestyle, there is just not any way you're going to lose that kind of weight unless you get sick, and we don't want that either. So, what is it that you're going to do in the next year to change who you are, what you're doing, or to, move forward? I mean, really, truly, you can't just fake it, I guess, if you're trying to change something. So, yes, if you want to set a resolution to change something intrinsic about yourself, whether it's your weight or your relationships or something like that, even though, yes, I do practice magic, I am a witch, it's you can't wave a magic wand and just fix yourself. You have to actually set realistic goals, exactly, Deb, for yourself that you can really truly follow through. Instead of saying, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds because you're overweight, you're dealing with um, um, or you're worried about your blood pressure or something. Instead of saying, hey, I want to lose X amount of pounds, say, I want to be healthier. I want to make healthier choices. Or, you know, it's exactly, MCAT. Um, I personally am a horrible employee. I don't pay myself very well. I've thought about firing myself or quitting myself, but it just doesn't work that way. I'm always here, so yeah, we're not very good at bossing ourselves around or telling ourselves what to do, because we can always find a reason not to do it. Um, anyways, the articles I'm reading are trying to project, the future of paganism and witchcraft, and what the future has in store for us. And in a way, as much good as a lot of shows like, the Harry Potter series or the first round of Sabrina or even Charmed or Practical Magic or some of the more family friendly type witch or pagan type movies and TV shows have really brought a paganism and witchcraft mainstream and made it just so much more acceptable for people to see witchcraft or see paganism, or to come out of the broom closet and say, hey, I'm a pagan, or hey, I'm a witch. It's so much easier now than it was even 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, if you were a witch, you were kind of the oddball out. I mean, seriously. And so there's a lot of that opening up and allowing of people to just be who they are, and that's awesome. That's great. But at the same time, has brought some unrealistic expectations, because yes, Harry Potter, you can't just wave your wand and drop the flu powder and go through the chimney to get to where you need to go. Um, there's actual work you have to do, and that's, I read a lot of fantasy, a lot of fiction, And it's often frustrating to me when I'm reading it's a really great book, but every time the main characters have issues, suddenly they have a new magic power. That's not really the way it is. You have to, learn something more about yourself. You have to develop a skill. It just doesn't, happen like that. So, um, there's, even though it's brought, magic and witchcraft a lot more mainstream, it's also created and caused some damage and some seriously unrealistic expectations, which is why we see so many social communities, social online media, that type of communities where people are like, yeah, so I need a spell to straighten my hair, and I need a love spell, and that's not really the way it is. Um, as much as we all want to go to Hogwarts, it's just not is not there. It's a fictional thing. So in the past, there's been covens or circles or groves or etc. Um, they are bigger. They're a little bit more dogmatic, and we seem to be trending away from that. Often we are just super busy, at least here in the U.S. We're busy being busy often and not really accomplishing much, which is frustrating because there's so much we could be doing. Um, and those that dogma is often very politicized. There's, witches and pagans are often activists because closer to the earth, more respectful of the earth, if you will, and nature, and so we're wanting to take care of the earth. Um, and we're often kind of like, nope, you got to do it my way. You got to do it this way. You can't. There's no give and take, and there's not a lot of flexibility. And in some respects, I think we need to really become a little more flexible in our expectations and what we really want or really expect from society when it comes to like environmental awareness, political debates, because political debates are not allowed in my house, generally speaking, because everybody who comes into my house are often very polarized. Yeah, our politics are becoming more and more polarized, and there's not a lot of just stopping and being yourself, being in the moment. And so on yesterday, even because the things that happened yesterday, the history, in general, we need to know what history is. We need to know what happened. We need to understand it. We need to observe it. We need to discuss it and research it and everything else. Because there's, if we don't look back and see what's happened in the past, understand what's happened in the past, we're doomed, literally doomed, to keep making those same mistakes and those same issues, and the same ignorance will keep popping itself up. And but we can't allow the past to really dictate who we are today. And it's not. It's more of a set of guidelines. Quoting a movie. It's not rules. Um, but and there's some flexibility there. I mean, you have to know the past, but if we're so rigid in our obsession with the past or our obsession with the future, today is lost. I mean, really, truly. So, um, paganism, witchcraft is generally pretty organic in its evolvement. When you realize that you're, not of an Abrahamic faith, or you're not an atheist, or maybe you are an atheist. Just when you realize you're a pagan or a witch, often it's an awakening. It's like an, oh, that's what that means, or an aha moment, and you really it's very freeing, and the acceptance of self becomes a little bit easier. It's like, oh, well, that totally explains why I do this thing, or that totally, I get why when I walk into some older buildings, I feel this way, or When I'm in a forest, I feel that way. You feel that connection is different. And so it's that the proverbial aha, the light going off, etc., etc. So um, from there, we start learning about our path. Doing the research, reading the blogs, listening to podcasts, watching the YouTubes or other videos, and we're bringing in all this information. We're going to the library. We're doing research. We're buying books, and we're just soaking it all up. And suddenly we have to figure out, what it is, is our path, or what it is that we are moving towards. And that path is developing and growing. It's very organic. And it's not like we are going to church to become a pagan because, okay, one, they really don't exist. Okay, maybe they do, but not here, and not the way most people assume, oh, church, you go in, there's pews, the pulpit, and all that stuff. No, it's not like that. Um, it's, um, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm just kind of nattering on a bit tonight. I don't know, but um, I really feel that, we need to be accepting of ourselves, and it'll make it easier to accept others not of ourselves and their own paths. Um, because I've seen is kind of a newer trend, maybe. I don't, well, maybe not newer trend, but I've seen some things on YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook, and in some blogs and articles about how you're not really a witch if you can't prove that you are a bloodline witch, meaning someone in your family was a witch first. All I can think of is in the medieval times when knights are jousting in something and they have to show their patents. You have to prove that you're of royalty before you can, participate, or upper class before you can participate in upper class activities. Um, you know, Being a witch or a pagan isn't something that you're necessarily inheriting from your ancestors. You may be, you may not be. Um, it's, you should be trying to figure out who you are first. Because often, the energy or the power that we have, um, the connection that we have to the deities or our spirit guides, that's something that often we're born with or we can develop. There's always going to be some sort of skill first that we have to develop. Um, but I think there's the potential. You're born with the potential, maybe rather than the skill. You're born with the potential. And that doesn't mean that your grandmother was born with that same potential. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't, or your grandfather. Um, and, but you have to develop those skills. And I think a lot of people who don't embrace being a witch or a pagan don't develop those skills or that talent, even though they were born with the potential of it. So if you don't develop the potential, it doesn't, evolve into something that it's more tangible or accepting. Like today when we had our get together, we did a little bitty ritual. It was awesome. And then we connected and touched hands, and we kind of did an energy thing, and that was cool. Um, you know, we're all four of us that were sitting around the table are very different origins. And it was funny because we were looking at 23andMe and trying to see, oh, hey, we're from here, or oh, hey, we're from here. And so, yeah, very different regions. There's some overlap, of course, because, well, people travel and things happen. Kids happen. And, but it's, we're very disparate, different people in similar talents or similar connections, that kind of thing, but different potentials. And we have different amounts of work to put into to develop that potential because we're four very different people. And that doesn't mean our ancestors were witches or shamans or pagans or priests or anything like that. I mean, most of us, if we sit down and look back, and this is something that Judge and Sindel said last night. Most people were pretty mundane. In previous lives. Sometimes they were in a battle, or sometimes they were in a place, but for the most part, the famous people in history that we read about are a very, very small section of humanity. For most part, all of those people who have lived and died are just normal everyday people. So there wasn't anything just really big or significant about them. So for most of us, our ancestors were just normal everyday folks. And they weren't witches. They weren't priests or priestesses. They weren't, these stand on their soapbox pagans or people who are changing the world. They're just everyday folks, just like we are today. We're just everyday folks trying to, live our lives, do our thing, keep the, pay the bills, pay the tax man, eat the food, love their families, connect with their friends, that kind of thing, and just be. And so the prejudice, and I really do mean prejudice, that I'm beginning to see about the whole bloodline witches. You must be a bloodline witch in order to be a witch. Is so full of hockey. It's just bullpucky. That's all there is to it. Because I mean, if you look back, there's enough ancestry now that sure, there's a lot of common people that we came from, but not everybody was a shaman. I mean, seriously, most people were farmers or hunters or gatherers. And so, just, oh goodness. And that's the bottom of the hour. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back. If you want to send me an email, it's wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And we'll be right back.
Masters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
No sound. I have to turn it on. Oh, goodness. I shouldn't have had the wine earlier, maybe. Maybe I should have stuck with the coffee. Because now I'm tired. No. So yes, off adventuring into the spaces between Paisley Wild, wildpaisley@gmail.com, WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. By the way, call lines are open. I forgot to say that earlier. So if you want to call in, please do. It's 213-233-3998. Or if you're in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. And yeah. So yeah, I was talking, but apparently I was talking to myself, which happens occasionally because it does. Yep. Mhm. Um. So yeah, it's all good. What's happened in 2020? So here locally, Black Tree and I and a couple other folks are gonna probably formalize into creating a circle. Um, don't really want to label it a coven just because of some of the assumptions that kind of go with a coven. Everybody assumes, oh, coven is bad, witches, cliques, that kind of thing. And yeah, I don't want that. Circle, I see a circle is pretty much all encompassing. It's accepting, everybody within your circle, your family circle, your friend circle, just your circle. And so, yeah, we're probably going to go that direction, more of a circle. And I'm hoping to be more active in the pagan community locally. I think it'll be good. It's hard often because I have a real job to keep the lights on and the water pumping and the freight delivered. Or in my case, the services delivered. Um, because I I like food. I like to make wine, and in order to eat the food or drink the wine, I have to have the stuff to create the ingredients. It's often frustrating to walk in my kitchen because I'm hungry and I want food, but all I have are ingredients. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's great. Um, but I'd rather be more active in the pagan community. I've got book stuff I want to do. I got show stuff I want to do. The 3-cent videos that I do periodically in the middle of the week, which I did 2 of them last week, but didn't get either of them posted because time was not my friend last week. Excuse me. And yeah, I like doing more of those. Got the Patreon up. Broom Closet Club. I like it. Patreon. The patreon.com/ the spaces between. There's a little bit of specific content for Patreon members. Planning to put more up. and just, trying to do the things. Often it's hard, to find time to do all of that, between, working and driving and family and friends and pagan and witch, and, occasionally I need to sleep too. So, we often have just, you know, so many things that we have to accomplish that we're not just being busy for the sake of being busy. We're actually trying to accomplish something. But to the outsider, it looks like we're just kind of busy being busy. And so, it's crazy how full our days can get. And then now, Minnie Paisley's in school, and so there's school activities, and I've been threatened with soccer and dance class and more ands. It's not so much my world is filled with busy being busy. My world is filled with ands. It's, what's the priority? Where do you spend your time? So, I do read the articles, I read books, I watch other YouTubes and listen to podcasts. So, my drive to work is kind of nice that way because I can listen to the podcasts and the YouTube videos and such. Um, I don't recommend reading and driving at the same time. That's not such a good thing. So don't do it, which is why texting and driving is bad. So that's my PSA for the evening. Don't text and drive. Um, Even if you do have a cool, thing to put your phone on so you can be hands free and watch it, that's still don't do that. But and I try to do my research and such because often for the show I am doing research. I have to do a fair bit of it, and I make notes and everything. But the downside of Harry Potter and Skyrim and Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, there's nothing wrong with D&D or Magic the Gathering, all those games. Is and movies and mainstream stuff is it's really hard to weed out fact from fantasy online, because very often the articles, unless you know the author or is specifically fantasy, you don't know that the article that you're reading that's very very interesting is talking about how to level up with your mage in D&D, or how to get a better spell out of your wizard in Skyrim or World of Warcraft, or the recipe for butterbeer, that kind of thing. And okay, I do actually want the recipe for butterbeer. If you know it, I'd love it. wildpaisley@gmail.com. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But anyways, I digress. Um, Trying to weed out all the fantasy is very, very hard, which is part of the reason why I want to write the book, actually, is because I've already done some of that research, and there's no reason not to, because really, there isn't any reason not to. And I think people would benefit from it. Although, I do. Yeah, your D20 dice there, Cam. I the I do try to tell people, and I try to tell you guys if you're listening, that um, it, the this is my path that I talk about, and I hope someone's learning, or you guys have input on learning from you guys, because often you all post or send me emails, and it's fascinating to hear your input or get your input. Because often it points out something that I didn't necessarily see or didn't really connect with before. And so having that change up is really good. It's or that extra input, or hearing someone else's intuition or viewpoint, that community, because that's something that a lot of solitary pagans and witches just don't get, is we don't have the opportunity to just sit down and discuss our craft with other like-minded, similarly minded people. And when I say similarly minded, I don't mean that we're all on the same path or on the same journey, or we're all Wiccans, or we're all following Odin or Thor or Anubis, or any of pick a god. We're not all following the same ones. And so, getting the insight from you guys is pretty awesome, because it often opens my eyes to something I didn't think about before, or encounter an idea that hadn't crossed my mind yet, because either I wasn't there yet, or, well, honestly, we all think a little bit differently. So those things connect with each other, or those ideas, we connect differently. And so, you know, um, trying to figure out our own path, then, this is mine, and I'm glad you're here. And I appreciate that you guys are contributing to my path. I think it's great, and I hope you keep doing it. That's why, yeah, I'm totally stoked when y'all keep coming back. Even if you do burn your hair there, Bomber, don't do that. Or Cells, Cameron. I mean, you guys, you need to be careful. Um, and I don't know. It's just interesting to see these different articles that talk about paganism in the future, about how it's becoming more and more cliquey. It's more judgmental for each other. The different traditions are becoming more obsessive with self than what they should be. And the interactions with each of the different groups and organizations is often very bizarre. So, it's often, you'll see some discrimination even from the different traditions, because, runes over tarot, or pendulum, or, you know, how to pronounce Hecate. It's Hecate or Hecate or Hecate, or, et cetera, et cetera. Because so many of the old words have different pronunciations. They all sound a little different. And so there's some dysfunction there. And I know, like, here regionally, we had witch wars about 10 years ago, I think it was. And for me, that's such a bizarre thing. It's like people are hexing and binding and cursing and just being really unkind to one another because they couldn't find common ground. Well, the common ground is we're all pagans. We're all witches. We all walk a different path. And there's nothing wrong with accepting that we are all walking a slightly different path. And by golly, I would rather have you be on your path and learning about your path and growing more on your path than, trying to be something that you're not. And so I guess my resolution, or my hope for each of you, including myself, for the coming year, is just be more accepting of yourself. I mean, really, truly. It doesn't mean, stop trying to improve yourself or learn something new, or, whatever it is that you're working on for the year. But just accept yourself, your limitations, because we all have them, your strengths, because we all have those too. Our own weaknesses, yep, got those. And, just be more accepting of you as you are. And if you want to change something, by all means, work on it. But it's okay to just accept you as you are. So, I suppose another resolution or hope for the next year would be, acceptance of others. I gotta tell you, I don't have cable. I don't have satellite. I catch my news headlines online in various places. I don't go to any one particular place for my news because it's all propaganda at this point. But I'm glad I don't have TV, because by golly, the insanity I see online and in various news clips about with our current political situation here in the U.S. is pretty darn redonkulous. It's insane. It's like if you have a different opinion, that means you're the bad guy, and that's not the way it should be. We're all different. Just, accept others as they are too. Not just accepting yourself, but accept others. And then, growth, whether it's a spiritual growth or emotional growth or mental growth. What is it that you are wanting to work towards in the coming year? So I wish you growth, um, and and acceptance. So seriously, they can go hand in hand. Accept who you are. Yeah, quit being busy just for the sake of being busy. You can only do so much in the day. We only have so many hours. We only have so much time. And to just be constantly filling it up, whether it's our schedules or our children's schedules or anything like that, it's not healthy to always try to be busy. You know, Allow yourself some downtime. Take a break, a bubble bath, go for a walk, hug a tree. And when I say hug a tree, I'm serious. I've done this, especially if I need to ground a little bit because I've got too much energy buzzing through me. I will go out and I'll either hug my elderberry tree or my oak tree.
Elderberry tree.
Yep, elderberry tree.
And your mother smelled of elderberries. Your father.
Cooking, yes. Whatever it is you do to ground yourself, I think it's important to do it. And, yeah.
Hi, Paisley.
Hi.
Hi, everybody out there in YouTubes. And Don here, of course. You were talking about going into the new year with basically fresh eyes and things like that. And we were talking to Sage at the portal the other day, and Sage was talking about doing this renew, this thing going into the new year and getting rid of some of that old baggage. And I think it's really important to always tell people, when you're going into a new thing like the new year, and this is a big year. 2020 is a huge year, and you have to do your own inventory cleaning. You have to get rid of that old stuff. You have to shed the bad negative baggage that you've been carrying around, or you're never going to get anywhere. Like I mentioned, I've finally come to terms with certain things that I've shed off and gotten rid of and thrown away that old dented armor. And
Really?
Huh?
Was it bronze?
Well, I'd be glad if it was just boiled leather. But anyhow, but you've really got to get rid of that garbage you're pulling around with you to really become that new person. And now is the time. Now is the time to do it. The place is here. The time is now. And you've got to have 2020 vision in the coming year. You've got to get rid of that stuff. You've got to get rid of it.
I wear glasses. 2020 vision is not happening.
Yeah,
here.
well,
I'm
me neither.
mostly blind at this point. Yeah. Aging is an adventure. I think there's a lot of energy for the coming year.
Yeah.
A lot of momentum, a lot of potential.
There is a lot of potential, yes, absolutely. And, but you're not going to realize your potential if you don't get rid of that stuff that's weighing you down. You can't be dragging those blocks around with you. So.
Dee says she knows how to make armor.
Okay. Cool.
Maybe you can upgrade to aluminum.
Aluminum. With a little Nike swoosh on it.
There you go.
That's my maker's mark.
Hey, I like that movie.
It's funny.
So, but yeah, it's you're right though. The stuff that we clog our brains with, whether it's ideas.
Well, it's not just your brain either, though. It's that stuff you carry around in your heart from your parents,
your baggage,
the butthole kids that tease you when you were a kid. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That negativity. Often we have a preconceived notion or an assumed notion of what our past should have been like.
Mm-hmm.
That
you got to get rid of that too.
The idealized version.
Right.
And yeah, it's great, but we're not all Norman Rockwell. We don't have that kind of a calendar or Christmas card or Didn't you guys look at Christmas cards
No,
tonight?
it was
just
great.
insane?
Oh,
Oh my
the
gosh.
first half was awesome. Oh, it was awesome.
You guys are weird.
I didn't do anything but laugh all the way through it. But anyhow,
I actually heard more laughter from you tonight than I did words. So,
it was funny.
yeah, it's, you got to let go of those notions of what life should have been like, because it's an idealized, romanticized thing that you can't change the past. You can't accomplish that thing that was in the past, because by golly, unless you got a time machine, you can't change the past.
Right.
And a lot of times you can't change it because other people were there too and affecting it and controlling things. So and you can't change them. You cannot change another person. So maybe that's one of your 2020 things, is accept that you can't change someone else.
Yes, absolutely.
The only person you can really change is yourself.
And you don't really change. You can only become better or worse, depending on your baggage.
Yep. So, the only thing you can really change is the way you respond to a situation or the people around you. And it's frustrating. You see people repeating the same mistakes over and over again because they just refuse to let go of that old mindset or that old thought process.
And that's exactly what it is. It's the old thing saying, oh, I forgot. MCAT says, that's good, Don. The way I heard it is people carry around dead wood and it has to be burned off regularly. If it isn't, you end up all dead wood and you'll be nothing left. There'll be nothing left if you burn. So
that's true, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dang it.
Maybe you're an ogre and you need to peel some onion layers.
Yes, I'm many layered. And every layer makes you cry.
Isn't that why you wear that beard balm spicy marinade or whatever?
My marinade, my sage and black pepper marinade. You were thinking about that Dr. Sasquatch commercial, weren't you?
Yes.
Don't marinate your man meat.
That's a freaking hilarious commercial.
Freaking funny. So, but no, going into the new year, you really have to get rid of that old stuff. 19 for me was a trying year, and it hasn't really stopped. But looking at the success that I'm having with Brent, and I'm having with you, and I'm having with Jamie Ray, going into this new year, it's definitely a new me, and I can only try and get better. I mean, I don't want to go backwards, and so got to get rid of that deadwood. Yeah, exactly. Or like to refer back to MCAT, or you burn up like these forests that aren't being taken care of properly.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, anyhow, it's almost time. Sorry.
I know. Well, we got a couple minutes yet.
Well, true.
So, Dr. Squatch.
That guy is funny.
The eyes.
He's like the new, what's his name?
I don't know.
The new, not Vince. Vince was funny too. He was Sham Wow.
Yeah.
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays.
He's actually pretty good.
So yeah, when you're looking forward, what is it you need to change? Lose the emotional baggage, the mental baggage, the mind baggage, because yes, the things we tell ourselves in our minds
is the most deadly you can do.
So if you're always telling yourself negative things, that's all you're going to see. That's all you're going to hear. So I strongly recommend, if you want different things out of life, change the way you think and what you're looking for.
If you keep doing what you do, you always get what you got.
Yep.
That's the adage I was trying to think of.
Yep. Okay, Einstein. But yeah, do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah, same kind of thing. You need to also give yourself permission to remove people from your life that drag you down or are negative influences. And that is not just general people, that can be family people. So, and those
A
are,
lot of the times it's family people.
and it's really hard because those have a blood connection to you or a connection to you that's been there since birth, and so it's hard to let them go. But it's often important for our own well-being to accept that you can't change them, and either you can't change them and you accept it, or
Or you just keep getting what you got.
exactly. So
That's another thing. I was talking to our friend Cade over in Australia with the Believe podcast. I was chatting with him at like 2:30 in the morning here. He's probably like having ice cream at 8 p.m. in the afternoon tomorrow. But anyhow, I was having it's the same thing as a person with a poor mindset. I'm poor. I'll always be poor. I'll never be able to do anything but be poor. But if you have a broke mindset, you at least have something you can work towards to pull yourself out of that broke. It's not a broke mindset. It's a broke realization, so.
all right, and
Oh,
just like
time?
that, it's
Sorry.
a wrap. So wildpaisley@gmail.com, and I'll see you on Friday.
Good night.
Merry meet again,
Merry solstice.
and
Happy
joyous
Yule.
Yule.
So mote it be the spell forever done.